Join me today as we talk about Zelensky, Putin, and Trump summit in Alaska next week. The gerrymandering in Texas, that's still going down, but yet some other state representatives aren't really fighting. They're on a cruise at a Cape Canaveral. Kind of strange, isn't it? Trump's bringing in federal law enforcement to help curb the violence in Washington, D.C., because the murder rate over there is pretty high. And finally, are you going to swerve out of the way and have a potential car accident if a snake decides to cross the street? I don't know. I think I wouldn't. Like, subscribe, give me a follow. I'd really appreciate it. And stick around. You just might learn something. Welcome to the Eric T Conversation. I'm Eric T. Well, I saw a sign today while I was driving, and it says, "Break for wildlife." And on the sign, it had a picture of a raccoon, a snake, or turtle, and some other creature that was on it. And I started thinking about it. I am not going to be swerving out of the way to have a major accident in my car because a snake decides to cross the street. Sorry. It's like, if that animal is in my house, what am I going to do? If that vermin is in my house, what am I going to do? That reptile is in my house, what am I going to do? If a snake is in my house, I don't care if it's poisonous or not. It's going to die. It ain't going to make it to the door. Sorry, snake's not going to make it to the front door of my house. So the last thing I'm going to do when I see a snake on the road is swerve out of the way. Turtles? Yes. Everybody knows we pull over the side of the road, pick up the turtle, walk them to the other side, kind of save them. We save them like 20 minutes getting to the other side. But yeah, but a snake, raccoon, I don't know about that. I don't know. I'm going to have to think very quickly on my feet if one decides to come across the car when I'm going 45 miles an hour. I'm telling you right now, it might not be a popular opinion, but the raccoon or the snake, probably not going to make it. We got a huge problem here in Florida with sandhill cranes. If you're familiar with sandhill cranes, these birds are about 3.5, 4 feet tall, and they decide to cross the street whenever the hell they want to. Whenever they want, they decide to cross the street. And I've literally almost rear-ended another vehicle because somebody hit their brakes so hard to try to not hit one of these animals that I almost hit them. That's how bad it is. People stop in the middle of the highway, going from 80 miles an hour to 0 in seconds for a sandhill crane across the street. I don't do that. I don't do it, man. I'm honking at them. I'm moving my car up, make a move, and they don't move quicker. They don't. You know why? Because they already know. They know we're going to stop for them. These fucking birds know that they're like, hold on. I'm coming. Guys, and then they look to their friends. Hey, come on over. Then they got 3 more people come out of the bushes, and then they're all walking, and they look around. They're looking around. They're not in any hurry. Look, I had an incident one time with a sandhill crane. I won't discuss the incident, but I think he wanted to die. I think he did, because I had my hands on 10 and 2 on the wheel. I wasn't texting. I wasn't eating a cheeseburger, driving with my knees. I was going 35 miles an hour, and this bird clearly 4 feet off the road. But by the time I got to that area, he stepped into traffic, guys. He stepped into traffic. I don't know if he made it or not. I don't know if he made it. I like to think he made it. I like to hope he made it. I think he made it. But anyway, I'm not going to have a major car accident because you decided to cut in front of my car. Just not going to do it. How do you explain it to your insurance agency? You go, oh, well, there was a snake in the road. I didn't want to run over the snake, so I swerved and hit this freaking oak tree. No, that's not going to happen. So if I don't want you in my house, I'm sure as hell not going to brake for you if you decide to cross the street when I'm going 45 miles an hour. Anyway, that's my observation of the day. Now for the conversation. A lot of the left is upset that Trump decided to send in the federal law enforcement into Washington, D.C., and I don't blame him. Just the other day, Big Balls, the guy from Doge, that he no longer works for Doge, but he got his face stomped in because he was trying to help a lady that was allegedly getting carjacked. So he, in turn, took the brunt of the beating and put the dude in the hospital. That's the kind of crime is in D.C. right now. So unfortunately, the mayor of the city is not letting law enforcement do their job. Law enforcement officers are great. That's a hard enough job as it is. But when you tie their hands and you defund them and you have less people policing the streets, that's when crime waves get high. Washington, D.C. has 700,000 people in that city. Per 100,000, they have the 4th largest murder rate in the country at 27.3 per 100,000. Lower than LA, lower than Newark, lower than New York. And they only had 700,000 people in that city. But yet, number 4 on the list. He's not trying to take over the city. He's trying to help law enforcement and give them the resources they need to fight crime. Because Washington, D.C. is the capital of the United States. And it's not a state. For all of you out there like, oh, he's trying to control the state. No, he's not. They're like, oh, this state's next, this state's next. No, it's Washington, D.C. Congress is there. The Senate's there. A lot of the bureaucracy's there. Federal buildings are there. Tourists come there by the droves because it's our historic city. But yet, the city in there, the parts outside of DC, out to the heart of DC, where the politicians hang out, are dumps. And I was just there 2 years ago. I know exactly what they're talking about. If you leave those inner circles of Washington, D.C., it's pretty bad. I'd be afraid to walk out there by myself. So he's going to bring in the federal law enforcement in to help that. And that's the problem. All these people that are voting, you got to know who you vote for. If you're continually voting for the blue, you're going to have crime. It's just what they do. They don't care enough about you to curb crime. They don't. They could stop crime overnight. Look what happened to Gavin Newsom when the Chinese dignitary came into that city. He cleaned up everybody, took all the tents down. Everybody was gone overnight. They can do it. They choose not to do it. They don't want to do it. They can stop crime. They can help curb it. They can start putting people in jail, get policing the right way, but they don't want to do it. Why is that? They have the most taxes out of any other cities in the country, but yet the highest crime waves. And you could talk about all the red states have the poor education. We have rural cities. We have rural areas in some of these red states. But some of these big metropolitan cities that we have in America, they've got to be cleaned up. We can't have crime like that. Nowhere. I'm all for Donald Trump bringing in the federal law enforcement there to try to help the local law enforcement to curb some of these heinous crimes that are going on, because Washington, D.C., to be number 4 on the list, I mean, come on. And no, people, D.C. is not going to be a 51st state. Our forefathers set that up that way on purpose. They knew better than to do that. Those guys, like them or hate them, they knew a lot 250 years ago when they created that document. Hopefully, Donald Trump can help the law enforcement out there and get things in a better direction with D.C. because it's a great city. I love this beautiful city. A lot of history there. But you shouldn't be afraid to walk down the streets. And Texas is still having the gerrymandering issues. You know, gerrymandering was created by Eldridge Gerry. You know, he created, he was a governor, and he created, how to pick apart different sections and get voting districts with all blue or all red. He designed that. And it was so bad when he designed it, it actually looked like a snake, how they, you know, kind of came up with the map to the point where they media coined it gerrymandering. But they've been doing it in these blue states for decades. And it's perfectly legal. Supreme Court ruled it is perfectly legal to gerrymandering. So that's what they're doing. And everybody's like, well, Texas, they're just going to combat that by gerrymandering more in California, Illinois, and other states. But here's a news flash. Those states have been gerrymandered to death. Good luck finding any more House seats than you already have. You may get one extra if you're lucky. That's why there are solid blue states. But if you look at the whole voting map of the United States, it's mainly red. It's mainly red. And I think the Democrat Party has been doing that for so long. That's how they continue to win elections after elections. And they have more representatives in these districts than the Republicans do. And guess what? The Republicans are finally waking up. We finally have a president that's got enough spine to stand up to that and say, you know what? We're going to start redistricting. We're going to start fixing these maps so it represents more of the American people and not just one side or the other. And Texas was doing it because they had a census report in 2020. They had a redistrict in 2021. It went in front of a judge because they had 2 more extra seats in the House. And guess what? The judge struck it down. So Texas had to continue developing redistricting. And guess what they found? During that time, they've got 5 seats instead of 2. So if they just would have allowed them to get the initial ones they did in 2021, it would have been fine. Now they got 5. So they found 3 more seats when they did the old gerrymandering stuff. And then you got these ones on vacation. There's a state representative, Claudia Ordez. She's from the 79th districts in Texas, and she's a state representative. She was spotted on a cruise, Utopia of the Seas, out of Cape Canaveral, August 2nd to August 4th. She was on a cruise. This lady was on a cruise Instead of fighting for, the redistricting and the rights for the Democrat Party, she was on a cruise partying with her boyfriend. So yeah, they really care about you, Texas. They really care about you. And that was my hometown, Cape Canaveral. I live in that county. And she was right down the street, partying it up on a cruise. So that tells you how much do they really care? Do they really care? Or they're just using this as a time for vacationing? But gerrymandering is legal. And a lot of these red states are going to start doing that and get more more congressional seats. And they're going to make it more of an even playing field for voting. Now, the whole census thing that Trump was talking about, this isn't going to change overnight. The whole new census report takes a lot to do. It just doesn't happen overnight. But he's laying the groundwork, guys, laying the groundwork for 2030 when they have to start doing the census again. They're laying the groundwork. And they're fixing these problems they have now. The jobs report, same thing. They fired the lady. They fired Erica because she couldn't be smart enough to come up with a better way of counting jobs. She couldn't figure out a better way to do it. She's been there under several different presidents, and she just got complacent in her job, thinking she's a federal worker, she's not going to lose her job, whatever. At some point, you got to let technology take over, and you got to let them figure out a more efficient and a proficient way to collect the job numbers. And that's why she got fired, because she didn't think outside the box. Even the CEO of Bank of America said, she's doing it antiquated. They're checking surveys. That's what she does. They're checking surveys. There are better ways to collect data than that. So yeah, these are the things that are happening. They're laying all this groundwork for 2030 and beyond. But they got to do it now to beat the court battles. Because right now it's going to go to court. It's going to go to the Supreme Court as far as the census is reporting. Do we count illegals on the census report or not? We're going to find all that out. Because the Constitution says count all people. Well, we got to dig into that. Find out what the real understanding of that part of the Constitution does it mean. Everybody, even if they're illegals, they're not considered citizens. These are the things that Donald Trump has been thinking about for the past 4 years, and now he's ready to implement them. So he's not being a king, guys. He is fixing something that has been broken for decades, because even the Republicans that were in office, George Bush, Reagan, they all were problems with this. Nobody really saw that and decided to make a fix. So Donald Trump is doing a lot, because he's got to fix a lot of messes. Now, the VA had to let go 80,000 personnel. They have people that are in doing the jobs, that are multiple people that are doing the jobs. They got rid of several contracts with the VA from different organizations. Got to understand, there's a lot of organization contracts that the VA had that they were doing duplicate work. So they cut hundreds of millions of dollars in spending because of the contracts. That's a good thing. They got rid of people who are doing the exact same jobs. Now, I've been in the VA system for over 17 years. I've never had an issue with the VA. My appointments are scheduled. Listen, anybody has any kind of doctor's appointments, they're all scheduled a month, 2 months out. That's just kind of where they work. They don't have an influx of doctors, but if they start getting some of this budget cuts under control, and then they start hiring more nurses, doctors, PAs, personnel for the medical side of it, we're going to start getting our appointments a lot quicker. And they also need to change the way they do the VA system. I shouldn't have to go walk through a tightrope in order to get an appointment somewhere. I should be able to, all veterans should be able to go to an outside doctor or physician that their family goes to. That's the biggest thing that I have a problem with. My family uses a different doctor because they don't use a VA system. But I use a VA system, so I got to go through the VA for my medical care. Now, a lot of times they do community care, which they send you out to a private doctor outside the community if, for some reason, you can't get an appointment with a VA within 30 days. But guess what? Newsflash, those appointments for the private doctors that are out on doing their own practice, their appointments are 30, 45, 3 months, 2 months down the road as well. So it's really not helping the veterans. And for everybody complaining about, oh, they fired some veterans, listen, veterans have to lose their jobs too. It's okay. Just because you're a veteran, I'm sorry to say, you don't get to keep your job because it's a job that we don't need. Now, I believe that any of those veterans should get a chance to apply first to another position or get transferred into another position somewhere in the VA system that can better utilize their services. But if you're in a position where it's a duplicate job, somebody's got to go. It's unfortunate, but that's how you trim it, because the VA is not in the employment business. The VA healthcare is in for caring of our veterans, period. And for everybody complaining, they want to use, oh, they fired 80,000 people. A lot of it is fat, guys. A lot of it was fat. My health care from the VA for the past 17 years has been excellent. And I'm in Central Florida. My clinic is 5 minutes from my house. I got the hospital in Orlando, which is 45, 50 minutes from my house. And it's a beautiful hospital, state-of-the-art facility in there. So I have no problem with the VA healthcare system. So everybody bashing Trump saying, oh, well, he's not doing this for veterans, he's not doing that for veterans. Yeah, they are. They're trying to fix the fat, trim the fat, make it more efficient and proficient for our veterans so they can get in and out of the system very quickly and get their healthcare taken at a very high quality. And that's what our veterans need. They need the best of the best. They deserve it, right? We deserve it. And finally, we're going to have the Putin, Trump, Zelensky summit somewhere in Alaska coming up next week. Now, Trump has already negotiated several deals throughout the world and negotiated some peace treaties. Now, I get it. Well, Trump had nothing to do with it. Yes, they absolutely did. We sent our Secretary of State to go in there, Marco Rubio. He helped negotiate Rwanda, the Congo issues, okay, Armenia, and the Azerbaijan conflict that just got signed last week. They're a mediator. Just like if you get divorced or child support, you got a mediator a lot of those times to help facilitate and negotiate better terms for both parties. So that's what the Trump administration has been doing. And right now, the last one they signed last week was number 7. That was number 7 of a peace deal that the Trump administration helped facilitate. That's why they signed it in the Oval Office. So I think next week's going to be a huge moment for the administration. If they can get that deal solidified and they can stop killing tens of thousands on both sides every month, I think Trump should get the Nobel Peace Prize. You can argue with me about that, but there's presidents that have done 0 to get that award. And Trump should certainly be at least nominated if he can help work this deal with Ukraine and Russia. But, Russia says they want, a big chunk of Ukraine back. So we'll see if that's going to be something they're going to be negotiating. But Trump is a negotiator, and he's got both of them sitting down together. And I think they're going to figure out a way to get this deal done because it's better for everybody. It's best for the world. We just need peace. Work on these trade deals. They're trying to, handshake deal that we got. We got to solidify that as well. Make sure that's in the books and finalized and done. And I think that's going to be a big part of the whole Russia-Ukraine thing as well. So if Donald Trump can negotiate that, I think the trade deals with China is going to fall very quickly right after that. And then it's going to be quietness for a little while. And then in 2026, we're going to have a phenomenal year. You watch. 2026, I say it on every show, it's going to be a great year for America. People that do work overtime, people that have been claiming some of their tips, they're going to get a chunk back on their tax returns that they've never gotten back before. And that's when you're going to start seeing people realize that some of these policies that are being implemented are really working for America. And the trade deals, they're working for America too. We're now trading with other countries that we weren't allowed to trade with before. And like I said before, hopefully the trade and the tariffs that we bring into this country can help eliminate this income tax, because that was a huge thing he said on the campaign trail, was trying to get rid of the income tax. And if he can do that, if Trump can get that done, no income tax for anyone making under $200,000 a year, the Democrats will never win another election. They won't. You're going to get J.D. Vance, you're going to get another Republican in there to carry on those policies. And that's what Trump is doing. So stick around, hang in there. It's going to always get a little worse before it gets better. That's what I believe. Prices are going to go up a little bit, okay? But they're not going to go up to the point that you can't afford to buy anything. And don't let them fool you. Don't go with the $2,400 extra per person a year. Per family household. Those are numbers that the media wants to scare the shit out of you with. That's not going to happen. And you got to start looking at some of these companies like Walmart, Nike. All these companies are going to be raising their prices. Look how much they made every year. Walmart made over $17 billion last year in profit. Ford Motor Company made, I think they made between $5 and $7 billion in profit. But yet, they don't make the cars here in the United States, right? So how about Ford Motor Company, right? Historical Motor Company. How about you make some of your products here? This is America. You're Ford Motor Company. And now you're going to charge people on tariffs? So look at some of these companies that are charging you more money. I think a lot of these companies are using this as an excuse to just raise prices. And everybody out there talking about, oh, the prices are getting raised. I already feel it. You're not feeling the prices right now. The Fed Chair Jerome Powell said, you're really not feeling the prices right now. A lot of these prices that you're feeling right now are just normal, standard operating price fluctuations. You're going to start feeling it, but start hitting up the companies that are doing that. Start wondering, well, hey, Walmart, you already make so much. You need to make more profit? Yeah, look at some of these companies that are telling you they're going to start raising their tariffs. And Google, do some research, ChatGPT, find how much these companies made last year in 2024. They have all made more money every single year than the previous year. And now they want to stick the tariffs to the American people. So quit hitting the messenger. Start hitting the companies that are raising these tariffs and start looking into them. Start getting mad at them. And if you start boycotting some of these places that provide these goods for us and their market starts going down, they'll realize they need to eat some of those tariff fees because it's good for American people. But Walmart having to raise their prices by 51%, I think that was one of the numbers that I heard thrown out there, when they're really only paying about 15% on tariffs. So there's 51%, they're going to increase their prices, but yet they are paying 15%, 1.5 on tariffs. How does that equate to 50%? It doesn't. So start looking into the companies and quit hating on the administration who's trying to get no income tax for the American people. Anyway, that's it for today. Join me next time for a little chit chat, some observation, and some good old fashioned conversation. Thanks.